Israel, and Israel alone, is responsible for the humanitarian crisis in Gaza. Now that should be readily obvious and apparent, but I was watching some national news episodes and yesterday, and they seem to go out of their way to avoid mentioning that very fact. So yeah, with NBC Nightly News with Lester Holt, Lester seemed to go out of his way to avoid mentioning why there is a humanitarian crisis in the Gaza land. And that seems to me to be a dishonesty by omission of the relevant facts of the matter. I mean, Lester Holt, he was mentioning how there's Egypt has sealed off their border with the Gaza, and so why? I mean, I don't know why they sealed it off. I wish they'd opened it up, but so why is there such a dire need to get humanitarian aid through across the border with Egypt? And the reason why is because Israel government officials have decided to bomb, indiscriminate bombing of the Gaza region, and also has engaged in the siege warfare tactic of cutting off food, fuel, and fresh water from the people, so the people of Gaza cannot get those vital necessities, including the hospitals. So that is really causing. That's why there's a crisis. That's why there is a dire crisis in the Gaza, and so. But the network news, they're just really deftly, carefully avoiding mentioning who's responsible for that. And of course, like a government as a thing in itself is not a sentient being that makes deliberate decisions. So there are officials that are deciding to cut off the food, fuel, and fresh water to the people of Gaza, and they are responsible. They are morally responsible for those actions, and we should not be supporting those actions that are causing a humanitarian crisis. The people are responsible for their deliberate decisions that they're voluntarily making. It is not a reflexive, involuntary action that the Israeli officials are doing when they decide to cut off the food, fuel, and fresh water to the people of Gaza, and when they decide to bomb this innocent civilians of Gaza. They're making a deliberate decision, a voluntary decision that they're morally responsible for, just as the Hamas that brutally, cold-bloodedly murdered innocent civilians in Israel. For that, Hamas is responsible for their deliberate, voluntary decisions to engage in those murderous, brutal acts. But just as on the same token, Israeli officials are responsible for their decisions that caused the death of innocent civilians in Gaza, including children. There's like 1 million children in Gaza. Like some of the Israeli officials try to justify that as saying that they're democracy there in Gaza, so they voted in these Hamas, the Hamas organization. So then they're not really innocent civilians. They're responsible for that. But that's the way it is around the world. Is that democracies where officials get voted in that engage in military imperialism. And yeah, that's the way it is around the world. Where there's that happens right here in the United States. I mean, like just in my case, I'm always voting against politicians that support military imperialism. I sure hope I'm not being held responsible for the actions of these military industrial complex representatives in Congress and in the White House. I do everything I can to vote them out of power, but it doesn't seem to matter. I mean, we have national elections every 2 years, like clockwork, and it doesn't seem to do any good. In my case, I keep trying to vote out the military imperialist representatives, but it doesn't do any good. Doesn't seem to do any good. They just keep on getting in office. So should I be held responsible for the military imperialism of the foreign interventions militarily that are under the flag of the United States? I don't think so. And I don't think the people of Gaza should be held responsible for the actions of Hamas either. On the same token, I mean, they have much less of a democracy than they do even here in the U.S. They haven't had any elections in Gaza since 2007. And so, and then the children, of course, of Gaza, they don't have any say in who's in power there. Also, there's even people don't realize there is a Christian population in Gaza as well. I'm sure they had nothing to do with allowing the Hamas to get into power. So the Christian population, they're being bombed too and facing the siege warfare of the Israeli government decided to engage in cutting off the vital necessities to the people. And so that's what I just wanted to say is that they're morally responsible, the Israeli officials, and we should not be doing any. We should hold them accountable and responsible for those decisions, and we should not be helping them. We should do everything to stop them from engaging in the siege warfare and this bombing of the people of Gaza, because they're responsible for the Israeli government. Officials are responsible for the humanitarian crisis in Gaza that's going on currently. It's really a dire situation that they're facing now, and I just wanted to call that out. So if you're watching this, I want to get this up online. So before the broadcasts by the mainstream media, we have the big three networks have their national news broadcast at 5:30, and I'm sure they'll be could talk about the Gaza again. But will they mention who is responsible for the dire humanitarian crisis that's ongoing right now in Gaza? Will they mention that the Israeli government, is responsible for that crisis? They are morally responsible. It's not an involuntary reflexive action. They are making a deliberate decision to cut off fresh water, food, and fuel to the people of Gaza. It's as simple as that. And so those Israeli officials are morally responsible for all the suffering and deaths that they're causing by those deliberate decisions that those Israeli officials are making. I just wanted to make that clear. It's very simple. It's not complicated. So yeah, okay. I'm gonna try to upload this quick and get this out there, and just make my let my words be known. And so yeah, if you're still watching, thanks for watching.